In my previous videos, we learned how to install Docker in Linux and how to run Nginx web server with PHP. The next step is run MySQL server. If you want to know how to run MySQL in Docker, go on ahead and watch this video. So, we have a running Nginx server with PHP, and now we will add a MySQL service to our environment. Of course, I prepared Docker Compose YAML file for you. The link for it is under the video. Let's clone it and see what we have here. Git clone and paste the link. We have a MySQL directory. We have here two containers, DB and Phpmyadmin. I think you know the most of parameters in this file. If you don't, please see my previous videos and read articles. All links you will find under the video. Let's take a quick look in this file. What do we have here? Image, MySQL 5.7. Here we have container name MySQL, restart unless stopped. We talked about it in previous videos. Volumes. We map volume in order to save all data in database after container will stop. Without this line, after stopping container, all data in database will be lost. Here is something interesting and something new. Environment. Here we have some parameters. As I remember, we have only one mandatory variable. It's MySQL root password. The rest of variables are optional. Full list of these variables you can find on Docker Hub. Let's see it. MySQL, we have it's a page with image for MySQL, and here we have all optional parameters. This variable is mandatory. The rest I see is optional, optional, optional. So only one is mandatory. Ports are clear. Networks, we connect our container to our labnet network, and here we have second container with Phpmyadmin because we want to manage our database. This is new, depends on perimeter. It means that this container will start up only if the DB service is running. In other words, Phpmyadmin container will not start up if DB container is not running. Here we have image, container name, restart, ports. We map port 8080 to 80 because we can't use port 80. On port 80, we have our Nginx web server. Here we have environment. Like above, we have here a few variables. And as you guessed, one of them is mandatory. Of course, I mean MySQL root password. The rest are optional. I put here PMA host and PMA port. The rest of variables you can see in Docker Hub. Where are our variables? Here we have environment variables. And I see my SQL root password. I think it's it's a mandatory PMA host define comma separated list of address host names of the MySQL servers and the same PMA port. I put here these two variables. Of course, we connect Phpmyadmin with our LabNet network, and the rest should be clear for you. Let's start our containers and see what will happen. cd mysql docker compose appd. Of course, I downloaded all images earlier. Docker psa. We see that we have here Phpmyadmin and MySQL. Localhost 8080. Here we have our Phpmyadmin. Let's try to log in as root. Secret pass. And we see that everything is working. Let's try to log in db user db pass. Maybe it's not bad password. db password, not pass. db password. Everything is okay. So we have here empty database. We can create some table ID, integer, first name, varchar maybe 40, last name, varchar 40, and address varchar 200. Here we have our first table. Let's try to install some PHP application which uses database. For instance, Wordpress. We have to download Wordpress. I did it earlier. We have to copy all files to our code directory. Replace index.php, of course. Close. So these are files from WordPress. We have to make some basic configuration for WordPress and for database. English, let's go. Database name, dbtest. Username, dbuser, db password, and database host. Don't type here localhost. It will not work. You have to know that our web server is container. It is separate machine, and localhost for web server means that it will look MySQL service inside Nginx container. It will not find it there. Instead of this, you should type here IP address of your host machine, or better, the name of container with MySQL. This is our Docker Compose file, and here is container name with MySQL service. We created a network, and we can communicate between containers by their names. When we are within Nginx container, we can ping MySQL and it will work even if you change your local network from home to office. So let's try to type here MySQL. run the installation. It looks very good. So we can fill all fields, admin, copy password. We can log in, admin password. It's working out pretty well. Localhost, we can see our website. Here is dashboard. Let's look our database in Phpmyadmin. Here are the tables from WordPress. I have one interesting observation for you. Let's see our Docker images. Phpmyadmin image is a very big file. It has almost 500 megabytes. Personally, I don't like big images when I don't have to use them. I will show you some trick which allow you to save 500 megabytes disk space. We have two options. Option 1 is use Phpmyadmin. We have to download Phpmyadmin files and copy it to our code directory. I downloaded Phpmyadmin files earlier. Now I copy it to our Nginx code directory. Let's change name Phpmyadmin. And now we can Phpmyadmin. Now we see Phpmyadmin from this directory. First of all, we have to make a short setup. New server. Verbose name, it's any name. Our MySQL. As you remember, we can type here localhost, but MySQL. Port is default, socket we don't use it. Apply. Now we have to download configuration file and save it to our Phpmyadmin directory. Code Phpmyadmin. Save. Now I think, we can log in db password. This is our database. So now, instead using 500 megabytes, you use 50 megabytes. But there is option 2, use adminer. Adminer.org. Download English only. Save the file. We can save it to the same directory where the WordPress is. Change the name to more friendly, adminer PHP. And now we can type adminer PHP, server MySQL, username dbuser, db password, and here we can manage our database using one file. This file has 300 kilobytes, not 500 megabytes. If you want to save 500 megabytes, you can use the second file from our GitHub repository. Here we have the second file, only MySQL. It contains just MySQL service without Phpmyadmin. You can run this container by this command: docker compose f, then type here the name of the file, only MySQL YAML appd. Then you will run only MySQL without pulling Phpmyadmin, or you can delete this file, docker compose, change the name for docker compose, and then normally docker compose appd. Everything I've shown in this video is on my blog. The link for this article is under the video. Thanks for watching and good luck!